The container cabinet is the worst cabinet in your kitchen, and you can have it fixed before dinner tonight. You know the one. You open the door, something slides out, and you shove it back with your knee. Then you go hunting for a lid that fits, and you turn up 4 that don't. I'm Sarah, and this is how we do it in the Midwest. No matching bins, no label maker, no trip to the store. Everything you need is already in your house, because the fix isn't something you buy. It's a decision you make 7 times. Stay to the end, because the step everybody skips is number 2, and it does half the work in under a minute. Let's get into it. Step 1. Everything comes out. I mean everything. Every base, every lid, every mystery piece in the back. It all goes on the kitchen table where you can see it. I know that feels like the opposite of tidying. You're making a bigger mess than you started with, and there's a real temptation to just kneel down and sort it where it sits. Don't. Here's why that never works. When you sort a cabinet from the doorway, you can only see the front row. You're making decisions about the 8 things you can reach while 40 more sit behind them in the dark, and every one of those 40 is going right back in untouched. That's not decluttering. That's rearranging. So pull it all. Take the shelves out too if they lift. You want an empty box and a full table. And while that cabinet is empty, wipe it. It'll never be this easy again. There's a ring of something sticky in the back corner of yours. I'd put money on it. Empty the whole cabinet before you decide a single thing. Step 2. Marry the lids. This is the one people skip, and it's the fastest cut you will ever make in a kitchen. Take every base on that table and snap its lid on. Just work through the pile. Base, lid, click, set it aside. Base, lid, click, set it aside. Now look at what's left over. You've got a pile of lids with nothing to close, and a pile of bases with nothing to cover them. Those are done. Every single one of them. Into the bag. Here's what I hear all the time. I'll find the lid eventually. You won't. Be honest with yourself about how long that lid has been missing. If it's been gone more than a couple of weeks, it's not in this house. It went home with a casserole in 2019, and it is living a full life somewhere else now. Let it go. And a base without a lid isn't a container. It's a bowl. You have bowls. I want you to really hear this next part, because it's where the time actually goes. Most people don't have a storage problem in this cabinet. They have an orphan problem. When you marry the lids first, before you make any other decision, you'll usually clear 1/3 to 1/2 of the pile in about 60 seconds. And everything after this gets easier because you're working with a smaller table. Snap every lid onto a base. Anything left over goes in the bag. Step 3. Now check the survivors. Everything still on your table has a matching lid. Good. Now we find out which ones still belong around food, and there are 4 things to look at. First, warping. Pick it up and look at the rim. Has it lost its shape? A container that's been through the dishwasher a few hundred times, or held something hot it wasn't built for, starts to go soft and out of round. That matters for a reason beyond looks. When the plastic starts breaking down, the material itself is changing, and a rim that's gone oval won't seal properly anymore. So whatever you put in there isn't actually closed. Second, cracks and deep scratches. Run your thumb across the inside. If you can feel the scratches, that's the one to pull. Scratches give bacteria somewhere to sit where your sponge can't reach, and a crack does the same thing, while also being a container that's on its way to failing. Third, stains and smell. Here's the test. If you've washed it properly and it still looks orange, or it still smells like last winter's chili, that's not a cleaning failure. The plastic has absorbed what was in it. That's the plastic itself breaking down and giving things up, and no amount of scrubbing walks that back. Fourth, the seal. Snap the lid on and turn it upside down over the sink. If it whistles, or you feel it give, it's not a storage container anymore. Now, one thing I want to be straight about. There's no expiry date on a plastic container. You'll see people online say replace them every so many years, and there's no real number behind that. You judge these by condition, not by age. A container you've had for 15 years that's still clear and still seals is fine. One you bought last spring that's already gone cloudy and warped is not. One more thing while you've got them in your hands. Check the bottom for a little number in a triangle. You'll want that in a few minutes, and it's easier to look now, while you're already holding the thing, than to dig it back out of a bag later. And the ones that fail the check don't have to go straight in the trash. A warped base with no lid is a great drawer divider, or it holds screws in the garage, or it's what the kids use for paint water. It just doesn't hold food anymore. Check all 4. Warp, scratch, stain, seal. If it fails one, it's out of the food cabinet. Step 4. The honest count. Look at what's still on the table. It's already a lot smaller than what you started with, and this is where you find out how much smaller it's going to get. Here's the question, and I want you to actually answer it instead of moving past it. How many containers did you genuinely use in the last 7 days? Not how many you might use. Not how many you'd need if all 3 kids came home at once and you cooked for a week. How many did you actually reach for since last Tuesday? For most households, the real answer is somewhere between 6 and 10. And most people are storing 30 or 40. Now, here's the thing, and I mean this. Take that honest number and add a few. Leave yourself a real buffer, because a week where you're batch cooking or somebody's sick is a real week, and you'd better be ready for it. But a buffer is 4 or 5 extra. A buffer is not 25. And I know I'm going to get comments on this one. Somebody's going to tell me they use every container they own every single week, and their cabinet's full for a good reason. If that's you, honestly, you're not who I'm talking to. But do the count anyway before you're certain, because almost everybody guesses high. The table doesn't lie about it. The rest of them are what I'd call somebody else's containers. They're being stored on the theory that a future version of you will need them, and that future keeps not arriving. And meanwhile, every single one of them is charging you rent in the form of that cabinet falling on your foot. Count what you used this week. Keep that plus a few. Be honest about the number. We're halfway through. You've got a table of containers that all have lids, all seal, and all earn their place. The back half is about where they go, because how you put them back is the entire reason this stays fixed or falls apart by Thanksgiving. Hey, if you like videos like this, I do this every single week. Subscribe to the channel, and let's get right back into it. Step 5. Give everything a home based on how often you reach for it. Most kitchens are organized by accident. Things live wherever they landed the day you moved in, and 10 years later, you're still crouching down to get the thing you use twice a day. So think about the cabinet in 3 zones. The space between your waist and your eyes is the best real estate in your kitchen. That's where you can see and reach without bending or stretching. That belongs to the containers you use constantly. The 4 or 5 you pull out for leftovers on a normal weeknight. Those go front and center, and nothing gets to sit in front of them. Above eye level is for light things you use occasionally. Not heavy, because reaching over your head for something heavy is how people get hurt in their own kitchens. And down low, or way in the back, is for the seasonal stuff. The big roasting container, the one you only use for potato salad in July. Here's what most people get backwards. They put the big pieces in front because the big pieces are easiest to grab, and then the everyday containers get pushed behind them. Now you're moving 2 things to get to the thing you actually want, twice a day, forever. That's the whole reason it falls apart again. Here's a quick way to test whether you've got it right. Stand in front of the closed cabinet and think about the container you reached for last night. Now open the door and get it. If you had to move something else to reach it, you've put it in the wrong zone. And you'll be doing that every night until you fix it. Put your everyday containers at waist height, in front, and keep them there. Step 6. Nest the bases. Stand the lids up. This is the part that keeps it fixed, and it costs nothing. Bases nest. Same shape, inside, same shape, biggest on the outside, like a set of measuring cups. That's straightforward, and most people already do it. Lids are the problem. Lids stored flat, in a stack, is what causes the avalanche. Because the one you want is always at the bottom of the pile, so you pull it, and the other 9 go on the floor. Then you're standing there at 6 in the evening picking lids up off the linoleum. So stand them on their edge, like records in a crate, or like plates in a dish rack, sorted roughly by size. Now you can see every lid at once and take the one you want out with 2 fingers without touching the others. And you don't need to buy a thing for this. A shoebox on its side works. An old loaf pan works. A baking dish you never use works. A cereal box with the top cut off, turned sideways, works. and it costs you nothing and takes about a minute. I'll tell you what I actually use. It's a bread pan that came out of my grandmother's kitchen, and I've never once baked bread in it. Nest your bases. Stand your lids on edge in something you already own. Step 7. Get what's leaving out of the house today. You've got a bag by the door now, and here's where a lot of good decluttering quietly comes undone. That bag sits in the garage for 4 months. Then, one afternoon, you need a container, you open the bag, and half of it walks right back into the cabinet. So deal with it today, and there are 3 piles. The good stuff that you simply have too many of, clear, sealing, no damage. That's donatable, and a shelter or a food pantry or a church kitchen will genuinely take it. Somebody sending leftovers home with people needs exactly what you've got too much of. Call ahead, because some places can take them and some can't, and it's a 30-second phone call. And send them clean. Nobody's got time to wash your containers before they can use them, and a bag that shows up dirty usually just gets thrown out at the other end, which means you drove it across town to land in the same dumpster. The failures, the warped and the cracked and the stained, those are recycling or trash. Most of your food containers and pretty much all your takeout containers are number 5 plastic, and here's where I'll be straight with you rather than tell you what you want to hear. Number 5 is recyclable, and roughly half of curbside programs in the country now take it, and that share is growing. But it genuinely depends on where you live, and some programs specifically won't take to-go containers even when they take other number 5. So check your own program before you put it in the bin, because guessing wrong is worse than the trash. A load with the wrong thing in it can get rejected and sent to landfill anyway. Whatever you do put in there, empty it and scrape it first. Food residue can contaminate an entire batch. And the 3rd pile is the demoted ones, the warped bases that now live in the garage holding hardware. Take them to the garage, right now, not to the top of the basement stairs. Put the donation bag in your car tonight, not by the door. Now, before I let you go, one last thing, and it's the whole difference between a cabinet that's fixed and a cabinet that's fixed until October. One in, one out. Every time a new container comes into your house, and they come in constantly, from takeout, from a neighbor, from the store, something leaves, that's it. That's the entire maintenance system, and it takes 4 seconds. Because here's what happens otherwise. You did all this work today. The cabinet is beautiful. And then over the next 8 months, one at a time, so slowly you never notice a single one of them arriving, it fills right back up. Nobody ever decides to wreck their container cabinet, it just drifts. And I said this earlier, but I want to say it again at the end. If the way your cabinet works right now genuinely works for your family, if you open it and everything you need is right there, then leave it alone and go do something you enjoy. This is for the cabinet that's actually costing you something. You know whether yours is. Everything I've told you today costs nothing but an hour, and you already own every single thing you need to do it. That's the way I was taught. And honestly, that's the way most of this stuff gets solved. So go empty the cabinet, marry the lids, check the 4 things, count what you really use, put it back by how often you reach for it, and stand those lids up on their edge. Do it tonight before you talk yourself out of it.